Hey everyone, this is Arry here, Chair of the Cascadia Blockchain Council. I wanted to do a quick intro for this AMA video. We had an AMA, Ask Me Anything, with several guys talking about NFTs and DeFi. We had Jamiel Sheikh, he's from New York City. We had Ray Monner, a local entrepreneur, and also Alex Wick, another local entrepreneur, join us for that weekly AMA. And found it really, really interesting and a really great conversation, so posting it. We have an AMA every week on every Friday, 12 to 1 p.m. PST. So if you ever want to join us at the Blockchain Underground on Meetup. And with that, I'll let you jump into the show and hope you have learn as much as I did. And then also, if you have any ideas for any events or people that you want to see in these videos and or AMAs, definitely let me know. Would love suggestions. All right, thank you guys. Bye. Hey, thanks everyone for making this. And there's been a lot of chatter about NFTs and DeFi. I think we're still waiting for Justin. So hopefully Justin can make it soon. But I think we're at all different levels of understanding of what is NFT and the space, and found some folks that are actually working in it, working with it, doing more with it than I am. And so I thought it'd be a nice way for us to learn about the space and share notes and ask questions. And I'll ask Alex and Jamiel and Ray to do their introductions, and then maybe since it's a small group, we can just do quick introductions for everybody, so we can see who's who, and yeah, start with that. So I'll just go like left to right, my left corner. Alex, do you want to start off with an intro?
Absolutely. Hey guys, my name is Alex Wick. I'm a forester and the founder and CEO of Cascadia Carbon. We're building a carbon offset decentralized exchange on our own patent pending blockchain. We're democratizing the carbon offset market by allowing anyone to create their own NFTs from yard trees or their favorite street tree, with the intent of solving climate change.
Nice.
Cool, thanks. Next up, Ray.
Hi everybody, my name is Ray Monner. I'm the founder of a company called AnyStacks, and AnyStacks is a blockchain-based company. We work on the Algorand blockchain, and we're using NFTs to certify financial and economic advice. Happy to be here and chat about NFTs in general. I also have some, long-standing interest in music and art on the NFT framework.
Cool, exciting. And Dan, want to say hi?
Hi everybody. My name is Dan. I'm from Arvada, Colorado, and just a cryptocurrency enthusiast, and here to be a sponge and learn as much as I can. Try and make sense of some of these NFTs. I think I get it, but I don't know.
Nick.
Hey everyone, I'm Nick. I'm with the Washington Tech Industry Association, where I help run our blockchain council with Arry, and then run our startup programs.
Woot woot. And Jamiel.
Hi, my name is Jamiel. I'm based in New York City. I run a company called Chain House. We do blockchain advisory, and we're building a couple of different products. One is in the grant management space. The other one is a DeFi tracker app. I'm also a professor at Columbia Business School, NYU CUNY. I teach both business side and technical side of blockchain and AI. I run a pretty large meetup group community in New York City, about 10,000 people. I just finished writing a book for O'Reilly on the Corda blockchain, and I'm writing another book for a major business publisher this year on DeFi.
Busy man, wow.
Hustling hard.
Yes, the hustle is strong with you. Randy.
Hey, I'm Randy Calpe. I live here in Seattle. So I've been in crypto since 2017, more on the investing side. Especially I got into it because of the the hype, but been around for the long haul. So I just recently quit my job at Microsoft in January to try to find a niche here in the blockchain space. So we'll see where it goes, where it leads me. Pretty excited.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah, thank you.
Angie.
There you go. Hi, my name is Angie. I have just been recruited to the dark side myself, like about 6 months ago, and it's all Arry's fault. But it's been awesome. I've been loving it so much that I actually got myself a product manager position at OKCoin. So I'm now like officially, professionally in here, which I'm loving so far. And I'm new. I'm still very new, so I need to learn and soak up everything that I could possibly can so that I can continue to build great products for newbies like myself. Excited to be here.
Yay. And John.
Hello, I'm John Sook. I'm the Vice President of our 401k benefits group for the WTIA. I'm really here as again, similar to Angie. I blame Arry for pulling me into the dark side, but it's been awesome, and I'm spreading the word to many others. So I'm a new investor in the space and soaking it all up. Thank you.
Amen. Ken?
Hi, my name is Ken. I'm a psychotherapist getting ready for retirement, and I've been involved in cryptocurrencies for about a year. I feel like I'm on this massive learning curve at the very beginning, but learning every day, and it's good to be here.
Welcome, welcome. And then Fireflies, if you want to introduce yourself, or you can also opt out.
But I think Fireflies is a note-taking software.
It's a note-taking software.
It's like an AI-powered note-taking software.
Oh, okay. I guess it won't be introducing itself then.
Yeah. It should though. If it was AI, really, it should.
Where did it come from?
It should introduce itself. No.
All right. Well then, I guess who wants to start? I guess. What do you think about NFTs? What is an NFT? Who wants to start with a good definition for that? Does everyone know what it is?
It stands for non-fungible token.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good start, I guess. And it differs from fungible tokens in that it's non-fungible. So like Bitcoin is fungible, one Bitcoin equals another Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
NFTs are different. They're more like, you can think of them as like trading cards, basically. Like some trading cards are more valuable than others.
Mm-hmm. The way I usually describe it is fungible tokens are like you take $100 bills, like 10 of them, when you throw them on a table. I pick up one, it's worth $100. I pick up any other one, it's still worth $100. And then the other example I heard of a non-fungible token is I take 10 paintings and I throw it on the table, but one of them is a Picasso. I pick up one, my 5-year-old drew, it's valuable to me, but maybe no one else. And then if I pick up another one that's a Picasso, that's worth definitely a lot more than, market-wise than my 5-year-old drawing, right? So that's non-fungible. What do you guys think of that definition or explanation?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it gets into the difference, the key thing about fungible, non-fungible, but it's hard to talk about non-fungible, fungible without getting into examples of what it could be, and there's so many examples of what it could be. So I thought maybe we could there's probably some questions on what could be a non-fungible token and what couldn't be, or is there any limit to the types of unique things that could be represented? And maybe that's an interesting topic. I don't know.
By the way, in my book, I write an economic heuristic for fungible versus non-fungible. The economic heuristic is if it's fungible, a like-kind asset, there on an exchange of a like-kind asset with another like asset, there is a 0 probability of a net gain or loss. Whereas non-fungible, there is an equal to or greater than probability of net gain or loss. And then fungible also implies mergeable. Right? So Bitcoin is mergeable and NFTs aren't mergeable. So I think but there is another component of mergeability and divisibility that also can be pulled out and separated from fungibility. But then we go too far,
Love
and
that.
we'll get philosophical.
That's awesome. I'd never thought about that as emergible.
Mergeable. Wow. Yeah. I'm like, whoa,
Well,
I've never heard that.
Digital
But it-
currency is mergeable, but like fiat currency is not mergeable. I can't take $5 and make them into a $10. I have to trade it. But with 2 Bitcoins and 1 and 1, I can merge it. So mergeability and fungibility are a little bit different, and sometimes they're overlooked as the same.
And the way you're seeing Bitcoin is mergeable is if you have 1 Bitcoin in your wallet and you purchase another Bitcoin, the wallet now is 2 Bitcoin, and you're
The wallet, with Bitcoin, the wallet says it's mergeable, but the Satoshis are they're UTXOs, so they're merged. They're merged potentially differently than how we would think fiat is merged. It's sitting in your wallet. You have these clumps of Satoshis sitting in your account, and then when your wallet looks at it, it adds them up and says your balance is 2.3 Bitcoins or something like that.
Right. So like you can't take a $5 bill, another $5 bill, and that's not $10 bill. Like you literally have to trade it to get a $10 bill. So that's what you're talking about in terms of mergeability. Okay.
Yeah. So digital is mergeable and fungible, but fiat is not mergeable, but it's fungible.
Is it assumed that an NFT is a digital asset in terms of it has to be something of value to somebody, and that it has to be in a digitized form? Is that correct? Like a piece of art, for example. We think of art as being, like a painting or something, but an NFT could be a digitalized picture of the art that is an original that only one person can own that.
So an NFT is not, it doesn't even have to be the actual artwork, but it's like a certificate of authenticity, basically. It's just posting to the blockchain that this person owns the rights to X, Y, or Z, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Beeple, I wrote a little Python script. It's about 7 lines. I'd love to share with anybody who wants it. It pulls down the Beeple artwork from IPFS. So with the Beeple thing, what it is very, very high resolution image. I think it's a JPEG or a GIF. And that is stored on a decentralized file system. Think of it like a decentralized Dropbox. And the minute you put that file on IPFS, it returns back to you a unique identifier, basically a hash. That hash then is embedded into an NFT token. So the artwork and the token are technically independent, but the NFT points to the artworks through the IPF hash. But theoretically, NFTs do not necessarily have to represent something digital. It can represent a physical house, but then you need a framework around. You need a legal framework around it, and you need all kinds of like processes and things like that. So then a transfer of an NFT potentially would be like a title transfer, but I don't think we've seen anything like that yet. Yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah, it gets interesting in an aspect because even in that Banksy scenario, I don't know if you've heard that, he had a piece of art. So whether he got certified and he worked with whichever company to actually burn it, and then at that point sort of immortalize it within as a digital space. So it'll be interesting as we move forward through this space and how that will work, because now you're introducing a secondary mediary where there's verifiable, right? There's some human element that's verifying it. It becomes a challenge too. So I'm into shoes, so I'd be very in the shoe game to see how that works out and how they put NFTs in there. And obviously just counterfeit and all that. So.
I've heard some discussion about the ability to duplicate said NFT. It sounds like I'm assuming there would be lots of measures in place to not be able to for that to not happen. Is there potential for that? I think there's a lot of fear in initial readings that people are like, well, I don't want to do that because people could just make a copy and then, you know, kind of bootleg it or, you know, forge it?
That's a great question. See, so I think it comes back to the compliance and the who is the brand that put it out, and is that brand or that notary or the house that minted it, like, do they have a reputation, and can you link it back to them somehow? Because it's very easy to go onto any Ethereum based minting platform and stitch together a new Beeple, and you could just copy the original and say, oh, this is Ray's Beeple. There's practically nothing stopping me. I don't know if some of the platforms introduce like sophisticated AI to try to stop that kind of thing, but many of the newer platforms wouldn't have that level of sophistication to stop people from actually creating copies themselves. You just have, so it would take a discerning eye to see, like, well, who created it? Was there, you know, what was the process of it being created? Is it truly the one that I want to buy, or is it a knockoff bootleg?
Well, we have common protections like trademark law and copyright law. Are there laws that would apply to NFTs at this point?
That becomes interesting, right? Because if you step back, this is global. It's something where it's not just US regulated. So they're probably, you know, within their respective jurisdictions there may be, but I think that's what the solving that, right? If you create it in the US versus any other country, it's just more of a holistic, right? And taking that, I also have to remind myself with this space, especially with decentralization, is that we do have the comfort of our rules here in the US, but you know, some may not have it all, right? But they still have the ability to create within the platform, which gets very interesting, right? And so it's sort of that verification piece as it gets introduced. So,
right, because we want to let people access these great tools. At the same time, we want to have some way of verifying that people are using them in the intended way, right?
I did have a question for you guys working on the NFT. So the platforms per se, I think at some point there will be interoperability to move within the different platforms at some point. But selecting one, once you create it for Ethereum, let's just say Cardano, whatever the other platforms, is that something in your privy as you're trying to figure out, okay, is this the platform of the future, or is the assumption is that there'll be an operable? So let's say you do create an NFT for a space, does it, you know, and then somebody else, whatever that application or usage within another platform, right?
Yeah.
Is that the challenge, or still trying to be figured out?
I would say it's a huge challenge, and it depends on what you're putting on, what you're using the NFT for. Like Ethereum is maybe great for popular culture, or I don't know, you know, things that fit into popular culture, but might not work really great with an enterprise use case. Or, you know, shoes is a really exciting example. Like, you know, maybe Ethereum's right for shoes, maybe not. Maybe there's a platform that's more efficient and allows you to store data differently, or it simply has the network in place that would make it successful in shoes. I think it's a very nuanced discussion that for each type of NFT or each situation.
Yeah, it's something boiled down to the network effect, right? When somebody creates it, it's the community, and whatever takes hold will be the case. Because anybody could create it at that point. We're not interesting.
For now, but then, like you said, like there are platforms coming out every day that you know, want to act as a bridge or allow you to you know, fractionalize an Ethereum NFT with a different platform.
Got it.
Right? There's all sorts of things that are evolving, but for now, I mean, if you want to make a successful project, you got to choose a network that's right for your project.
Right. Okay.
And so I will say that that's one of the things about Codex, the carbon offset decentralized exchange that we're building. We're using Polkadot to build it because it's very extensible. And we're building an Ethereum smart contract. So it's going to have that extensibility where you can interact with other blockchains, but the actual Codex exchange is going to specifically be focused on running a low energy nodes. So limiting transaction speeds, and using like proof of stake in an AI witness consensus algorithm.
Interesting. So Alex, as they upgrade to ETH 2.0, is it, do you just try to pivot, or just, it depends on what's there where you have to pivot to the next, or do you feel locked into that scenario you just described, right? Is it something you code to that, or you have to make it robust where it needs to be able to pivot if some, like let's say ETH 2.0 goes to, you know, that piece of it, or is that still the challenge too?
And that's absolutely the challenge, and the dynamic nature of blockchain moving forward.
Got it.
But I will say, well, yes, we're purposely building in the ability to pivot like that.
Got it.
Wait, so to recap, there isn't like a central wiki where I can look up all the NFTs and see which ones, if I have the one, is an original or non-original?
Well, okay, so something like OpenSea allows you to look at NFTs that were minted on various platforms.
Mhm.
So that might be a good tool to look at if you're evaluating a work. Have you come into contact with this, Jamiel?
With OpenSea?
Or just if there's an effective way to
we're building just for fun. Well, I'm building something which is like an NFT viewer, but I think there isn't a place where you can see or where you can do quote unquote portfolio management of NFTs. And so I want to manage my portfolio of NFTs regardless of what chain they're sitting on in one place. Maybe MetaMask does some of it, but there isn't. I don't think there is a place where you can like see an entire catalog of NFTs, regardless of what chain there is. I don't know if OpenSea does that or not. Like like on Polkadot.
No, even if they were trying, they wouldn't have been able to do it yet because there's a new chain coming out every day, right?
Yeah, well, the major, like I think they are pretty much tied to Ethereum, but that there's NFTs on Algorand. And actually I was on a call with Algorand a couple of days ago, and I think they're pushing forward on NFTs, but Algorand, Polkadot, Ethereum, I haven't seen anything that really combines like a kind of an NFT viewer, kind of the ether scan of NFTs.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking for. Is there an ether scan of NFTs across chains?
Like a repository?
Yeah, or just like a index, where I can just like look at all the NFTs and sort by price and like type. And if not, can someone build that?
Yeah, that sounds like an opportunity.
Yeah. There's a guy I'm talking to right now named Paul Perret who's thinking about doing something similar to that, and he's calling it ArtSwap.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
He registered. He got the name, but I think there's so much infrastructure that's needed still in the NFT space. All these tools that are needed. I think it's kind of early, and there's a lot of like good opportunities for filling some of those gaps.
For sure. And this, like, if you were evaluating different NFTs, you'd want to know, like, what does this NFT represent? You'd want to know how many other NFTs were printed when this one was printed or minted. And, is it a copy? Is it a original? Is it, does it have some special licensing tied to it? Does it have an item tied to it, a physical item? There's, so if a platform could show you all that different data, then you could really assess it like, oh, this looks like a good one because it's got this attached. Like it's a real NFT versus a fun NFT, which has potentially less value.
I was on the OpenSea Discord. Can I share a screen, Arry? I just want to show like in the screenshot that I took of OpenSea. And like, I think there's more fundamental problems. Let me just show you this. I kind of like highlighted like this ongoing chat that occurred. I think it's really instructive.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got this guy here. I don't know if you guys can see it. You've got this guy who said, I just created an NFT and I put it up for my asking price was $100,000, and nobody bought it. Then I moved it to $1,000, and then I moved it to $120. What am I doing wrong? Nobody's buying it. I think there's just I think that indicates there's a massive misunderstanding of basic market dynamics, and there's so many people coming into NFTs that don't know anything about blockchain or don't know anything about how to sell stuff. And you can see like somebody responding saying, well, maybe nobody wants to buy your stuff. And the OpenSea Discord is like full of these kind of questions, which are like, and the volume of these questions shot up, and they were very, very fundamental. So
Jamiel, just for background, like I created a music stock exchange about 10 years ago, where you could upload your rights and then try to find buyers for them. And that what you were buying was a share of future income from the mechanical rights.
Right.
And that was like the real problem we had. It was like, or not the problem we had, but just in general, like the problem with this is the long tail. The long tail of content creators. If you're a buyer, you're an investor, and you end up buying some long tail content, you've got to have like amazing ears or some amazing ability to discern art, because there's so much of it, and it just doesn't compare to like that top 1 or 2% of content which everybody's hearing about. The people, the Banksy. Right. So if you're not Banksy, it's still like you still have to do all the fundamentals of selling and marketing to have people interested.
Right.
So I guess that means like the fundamentals of why blockchain or why crypto also still apply to NFTs, and that you use crypto or NFTs or blockchains to amplify the network effect that's already in place, not necessarily to create network effect from magical dust and expect it to happen automatically.
Yeah, that's the big benefit of today. Like if you were minting your intellectual property or your artwork, is that now you've got an audience. There wasn't an audience, years ago, and today it's a topic.
But we haven't seen the people, the money move. We haven't seen the money of that. We haven't seen evidence of that $70 million move. So I just wonder. It's not on Ethereum. It's not an Ethereum transaction, as far as I know. So that in itself might be a marketing stunt. I don't know.
Well, that was done via like Christie's or something, was it not? Like a reputable auction house?
Yeah, everybody's reputable until they're not. So I don't know.
Sure. And maybe that's part of the opportunity, is that the systems are going to be more reputable.
I'm still having a hard time understanding the ownership part of it, right? So you own the rights. It's like a title deed. So if I could just wrap my head around it, I own my car, and I could do whatever I want to do to modify my car after it's under my ownership, and I can tune it up, do whatever I can do to it. But that's not how it works for NFTs. You have the right to it, but you can't really modify the original song. Like you have no rights to be able to do any of that, even though you own the right. So I still don't quite clearly understand what this really means. And can someone maybe explain that to me?
Yeah,
it's going to come down to what the intender, what the person who minted it intended. But please, Jamiel.
I was just going to say that with NFT, provenance matters. The key is provenance. It's not the token itself. It's what's the history of that token? What's the story of that specific token? And having ownership or being part of that story is what theoretically is what's valuable. So that's why the same piece of art, and this is true of the art world, right? I remember looking at, when I was in college, I took a class trip to a museum, and there was a black cube behind, like in front of a white background. It was a Malevich, it was Cubism, and it was selling for $20 million. So, the story behind it, I think that's going to be important in the NFT space, which is the provenance of this NFT that I'm buying, who made it, as Raymond was saying, who minted it, who touched it, did Snoop Dogg touch it, and now I have it in my wallet.
Yeah, hey Jamiel, just to add to that. So with me, I bought NBA Topshots in December because I knew there was a huge market, at least in the physical aspect, and the challenges with the physical with just selling, right? And so there's that narrative behind it where I'm like, this has potential in the future, right? So you're right. It just depends. The arts, music, right? All these aspects where there's has to be this narrative figure. Though at some point, I think as you look, we look at the physical framework and how they manage it, right? It will translate at some point, hopefully in code, in order to manage that. But you're right. I think the reality is this: is that the media, social media, they're just maybe seeing the 1 or 2% that are making crazy money, and there's people that are feeding off that. Unfortunately, I think in this space where you do have to have that bubble and have it go down and just shake the people that really thought they could make a quick buck, but then you have the true connoisseurs once it shakes out. You know, if I think of .com, you know, all these things where really the true businesses shook out of it. I mean, even in crypto today, what do we say? 99% will probably fail out of it, but there's so much money into it where it's unfortunate, but I think that's where, you know, we get the true folks that are going in and the long-term play. Yeah, well, you know, the ones that can hang and let's just say hodl and believe in, that's where you come out of it, right? So, yeah, so Andy, it's a good question. I think that's where it's the value, you know, even if I generationally, you know, I'm in my mid 40s, I talk to my friends, they're like, dude, why would you buy that for that amount? I go, well, it's a good question. I said, it's not me, and I have 2 kids, so I do have that privy, you know, whether they play Roblox or Minecraft, whatever the case may be, that's their world, right? And so for me, you know, I have to pivot and think outside where I think it's ridiculous, you know, of what's going on, but that's the reality of it, so.
And I think that one of the things with NFTs, like, you're absolutely right, there's that Pareto principle where, like, I feel like most people who are talking about NFTs and talking them up and even talking on panels like this don't even own NFTs.
Right.
I personally have not paid any cryptocurrency for an NFT. I've listed one of them.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like 90% of people are like, oh, NFTs are great. I go on OpenSea, but like the percentage of people who are actually like connecting MetaMask and making that transaction, very small.
Yeah.
I also think though that like with NBA Topshots, like what is to prevent NBA hotshots from coming up and offering a better digital playing card and issuing millions of them and taking all the market share from NBA Topshots? There's not much like competitive defensibility there.
Yeah.
There's built in though, because the NBA franchise is so strong. If somebody came along and used that NBA on their own NFT, it would, you know, they would have legal consequences.
Yeah, I know Topshots working directly with the players union and stuff.
Oh yeah, like they would, you know, the licensing is serious on this stuff. Like, so I've minted, just back to Angie's question, like I minted a song of my own on one of these, I think it was Rarible. And so I actually laid out, like, you can take all the files and remix them if you want. If you buy this NFT, you can just take it and do whatever you want with it. So I told them that, you know, I was very explicit in that, and I have like a folder where you can download the files and do whatever you want with them.
Or how do you
Pardon me?
The actual files, are they lossless and are they on IPFS, or how do you actually download those?
Well, there wasn't a very sophisticated thing. You know, I just put a Google Drive link in, I think is what they, yeah, it was, it was a while ago. I also bought an NFT, Alex, for $70 on Ethereum. And it looked really cool to me at the time. And now I kind of regret it, you know, because that $70 is what could have been spent elsewhere. But so that's, you know, that's definitely, you learn that after you do it a few times. It's like, but Jamiel, like you actually have a portfolio of, how do you find the right NFTs to buy into?
No, I don't have a portfolio.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've got a couple of NFTs, but it's only more for like my education, like to learn like transferring and playing with this. But I think NFTs, I would say that the US dollar or fiat currency is more like an NFT. Like the US dollar is more like an NFT than it is a non-fungible, because a US dollar has a serial number on it, right? It's a dollar is a unique thing. right? It's unique, and it's not mergeable. So there's overlap in some of the fungible and non-fungible stuff. But at the end of the day, if you were to think the US dollar is an NFT, then you would ask, well, it's a piece of paper. Like, what's its value? Why do people value a $100 bill? And why does it get me a basket full of groceries at the store? This little piece of paper, and I just give it to somebody at the grocery store, and they're going to give you a bunch of stuff. And wow. So I think it just comes down to belief, like a belief system. There's these things that bolster that belief. They're like kind of these pillars and things that bolster a belief system. Like for the U.S., it may be our army, and there may be our legal system that is kind of like developed and all that, and that bolster this kind of belief system. And I think NFTs are going to kind of get there as long as these systems come into place, the legality, the framework, and all that. Then the belief system will rest on top of it, and they'll emerge winners and losers in the NFT space. And then I think the NFT is just the beginning of not the art world. I think it's the beginning of a new way of doing finance. And I think that for me is the more interesting part. I'm not an art guy. I can't understand it. I don't think I ever will. I tried so many times.
Going back to what Raymond said, I think that, I mean, the ability to change NFTs over time. So if they develop over time, I think they'll be more valuable. But if you're buying like a 100 by 100 pixel art that just sits there and the creator's not adding to it or sort of doing anything with it. Because, I mean, as Jamiel said, like, it's, you buy a couple of NFTs and you're also like, okay, I have them, like, what can I do with these? Do they actually even exist? So, like, I have the hash, but is there anything I can do with them? And that's where I think NFTs really make sense intuitively, because it's an NFT linked to a physical asset, a tree. And that tree is growing over time, so you can add different metadata to that NFT token, which creates more of an interactive experience among NFT listers and also buyers. One other thing I want to say is a couple years ago when Bitcoin was sort of first getting press, there was this excellent article in, I think, the New York Times or maybe the New Yorker, where the first sentence was, if fiat money can be referred to as a collective delusion, Bitcoin seems more like a collective hallucination, which I just thought was hilarious. And it's really true, because like fiat money only holds value as long as you believe it has value. And the same thing with Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So maybe this is a good way to transition, because you were talking about, it's not just about what is NFTs today, and we've just talked about like the real and what's the there behind NFTs. How about we start talking about like, where do you see this going, and what is the long tail of opportunities that we haven't even touched or talked about? Because like that's also something I have a lot of trouble wrapping my head around. A lot of people talk about real estate, but I've been talking to a lot of real estate entrepreneurs who have been trying and struggling with blockchain use cases with real estate. It just isn't practical because of all the stuff that's involved. So like, what's the there in terms of opportunities in NFTs? Like, it's art right now. What is it tomorrow?
I still think that supply chain and blockchain just fit really well together.
Supply chain and blockchain for NFTs?
Maybe not for NFTs, but.
Oh, okay. Yes, supply chain and blockchain are good friends, I think. But NFTs, like, what are the use cases that you see or predict? I think, Ray, you mentioned that you saw like it's really about the opportunities.
Okay, so in the future, yeah, it would be difficult to maybe transfer titles of houses and things like that. But let's say I wanted to buy like 1 square meter of land in a rainforest, and somebody, just to, as a cause, and there's maybe 1 million people who do this, then that might be like a real estate conversation that makes sense, because you're effectively crowdsourcing, because you with this with the technology. But if you have good technology just to transfer a land title and it's paperwork and there's no real need for blockchain or an NFT, it's not necessarily good to just strap it on. But no, the opportunities are in, you know, in finding ways that it actually solves problems, like real problems. It's not really a problem right now. Like, do I need another collectible item? That's not a problem that businesses maybe have. But do businesses need another way to connect with their their customers and their communities in a fun way? Maybe there's a way for NFT to be fun and, you know, just help people engage with a brand or a client or a supplier or whatever. There could be, you know, it can really go in any direction, and just to yeah, it could go in any direction.
I think one good example is music, right? Here where now you could in sports, let's say college sports, right? They own their own brand, right? So I think the onus of branding, of being able to not rely on one platform, but to own it themselves, I think will disrupt. In music, I think this will be some disruption. I mean, you're seeing like Jay-Z, I follow some of the music where they're building their NFT, and you know, you could say, hey, if you have my NFT, you could get backstage passes, whatever the case may be. So it's not just the element of having this unique identifier, but the value of it, right? That, or you could, you know, the top person, let's say top holder of the number of NFTs gets a day with me, right? Things like that, where they get really creative. And then now you start to create brand, and you know, at that point you start to get advertisement. So maybe the advertisement world, right, where they now redirect, and we're seeing it today. I mean, but it's centralized. We have Instagram and Facebook where there's an intermediary, but now you as an artist could dictate your own price of what your brand is and not have to go through those platforms. So,
and it's global too. You're saying it's global,
right?
We're, you know, in the music industry, if you want to protect your music, you talk to the copyright agency in America. If you're a Canadian artist, you go to Canada, etc. But now it's like, you know, it's much more global when it's a technical solution, right?
Hey, William has his hand raised. Hey, William, thanks for joining.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Hey guys. I think gaming is actually going to be huge, online gaming. A little bit of an anecdote. Vitalik, one of the reasons he actually started Ethereum was, you know, he played World of Warcraft, which, you know, everyone knows is a big MOM back in the day. And one of the reasons he got really annoyed with the centralized system was that he got this like super awesome sword or something in the game, and then they nerfed it and just basically made his weapon completely irrelevant. And he's quoted as that kind of set him on this decentralized journey, since, you know, his entire experience was ruined from a centralized authority with no real consultation with him. So if you think about it in even like Fortnite, which is the obvious one, you know, you could create custom skins a la, you know, crypto kitties, and, you know, having like a unique skin is huge. Like, think how much money people spend on a skin that has 20,000, maybe a million other people wearing the same skin. They're paying like $20 for these things. So for actual creators to develop their own skins, which doesn't impact the game, but that's huge. But then even if you think about it as another anecdote in gaming is, if anyone's a soccer fan or has ever played like an online soccer management game, they used to be kind of big and they went away. But, you know, you could grow a player, train them, have them like uniquely attached to you an NFT, and trade them within the game for in-game currency or crypto or whatever you want to do. And, you know, I think in the future, you know, we're already seeing games where they're heavily modded. If anyone plays, you know, on a console, not so much, but any, you know, PC master race people out there, there's always these like sub games which are heavily modded in a way, and those are just community modded games that create, you know, a different type of game out of the same core game. And I could see a completely, you know, decentralized voting governance token based game, and then even having, you know, skins or unique items within that. And I think, you know, the gaming industry is like 4 times the size of the entertainment or movie industry right now, and it's only getting bigger. And I think, you know, the end game of that could be huge, and something that's not really talked about enough, which I'm kind of surprised about.
So we're like Ready Player One. We're getting close to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
mean, that's inevitable.
Sure, like I think there's this Vancouver or Canada company, Engine, that created the ERC 1155, and it allows you to have fungible, non-fungible in the same experience. So you can have like lots of fungible gold coins and like custom unique swords. And then on the mention of skins, I could see it working in the world of Patreon and Twitch. You know how like everyone has their own like cool windows that they use. So it'd be really cool to like have some of those be in the NFT world, I guess. I can see that. Thanks for sharing.
For sure.
Yeah, I think one area that I see it, and maybe not immediately, is well, NFTs generally are useful in illiquid markets. So markets that lack liquidity, NFTs can be a way to create liquidity in those markets, whatever those markets may be. And then there is markets where there's specialized services, specialized products, like private banking for high net worth individuals. I think we'll see that in a couple of years, that there will be NFTs that are not publicly disclosed that are created and are available, and they have more complex and richer properties and behaviors that a private banker client can buy. I think those are the areas that I think NFTs will go and converge with DeFi. But we'll see.
And I think that's a great point, Jamiel, because I think that, NFTs offer that advantage over fungible tokens in that they have associated metadata, and you can add to that metadata and customize it. So you can have an NFT, which theoretically, you can have like identity NFT. Like I can have my own Alex Wick NFT, and I'd add age, location, everything on. So I think that sort of goes back to I think someone was talking about like the co-benefits, the idea of like encoding co-benefits within tokens. And I think that's really going to become big in the future for NFT.
I think there's also some like interesting like tax efficiencies that happen when you talk about like the financialization of these NFTs. Like if you think about you put your money into Yearn or some of these other DeFi products, and they have strategies that go off and earn yield or go and track certain things. As long as you own that NFT and you're not directly in control of the funds, if there's some like DAO or something that's doing the strategies for you, then there's no like tax implications. And as long as you just hold that in NFT and the assets within it are outside of your control, then it doesn't count as a sale, right? So I actually think like the art and the gaming, those are like nice experiments, but the real power is going to come with the financialization of all this. Like you think about like an options contract. Options contract is an NFT. Like a bond could be an NFT as well too, because they're singular, but they need to be not fungible as well too. So I think like we're seeing just like the fun stuff being done now, and then the real financialization comes soon, and the actual implications of NFTs is going to grow a lot. There was an options platform that was doing NFTs a while back. I can't remember the name, but when you would buy a contract, you would buy like 30 NFTs, which would represent like 30 call options, instead of buying like an ERC20. So it's interesting to see some of the art stuff right now, but I think it's like a transitory stage towards when it gets financial. Well, it's all financialization, right? So the real financialization comes when we figure out how to leverage this for like bigger products that command billions of dollars and trillions of dollars.
Yeah, so was that you, Samuel, that was talking? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that was me. Sorry, I just had my video off.
Yeah. If you come up with the name of that platform that was doing the options trading with NFT, I guess creating options as NFTs, I'd love to like look into them. So,
yeah, I'll see if I can go find it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, just building on that point. So with the AnyStacks platform, we're using the NFT, the Algorand NFT, which is quite efficient to use, and we're using it as a store of metadata, so that if if you're receiving some information about like economic ideas or portfolio ideas, you can see where they came from, and and just, you know, have a little more faith in the information you're getting. So it doesn't, the NFT itself doesn't have any value. So it's just like a reference. It's a file that's sitting in the database as a reference. And then we put that file onto this NFT format, and now it becomes accessible. Anybody can look up the NFT and see the data that's been encoded there. And we're creating a reader so that you can just kind of browse the NFTs for their financial data. But these are like completely valueless in the sense that we're talking about here. But just having the certificate of like so-and-so said this is valuable in term, you know, especially when you're dealing with, you know, economic decisions, right? So that's something that we're doing that's, you know, we haven't seen a lot of that being done yet. And it's goes against this idea that the NFT itself is valuable.
By the way, I did have I know the Algorand team up in Boston. I've been to their office a few times, actually 1 or 2 times. It's a weird office, by the way.
Oh, cool. No, I haven't made it. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, I've got a photo of their lobby. So when you get out of the elevator, it's the hallway is dark.
Okay.
And there's this little old TV. The TV is like from the 30s or 40s, and there's an old phone there. And the TV, it's like flickering black and white, and it says pick up the phone. And so then you pick up the phone, and you're connected with the receptionist. And then there's this black glass. It detints, so it clears up, and then you can see the receptionist, and they let you in.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah. But one of the issues that we had with the Algorand chain was the smart contract factories capability was not as mature as Ethereum. So we were trying to figure something out around that. I don't know if you had that issue where a smart contract creates another smart contract. And if you had to do that, because it's entirely possible that smart contracts create NFTs down the road, right? Right now, like you code the NFT and then you deploy it, but down the road, you might want to have smart contract proxies factories that can create these NFTs, and they're customized. And so we didn't know if Algorand had that full capability. Anyhow, I didn't want to get technical.
Yeah, no. I mean, we're customizing data. Like we're allowing users to print NFTs for this financial advice thing. And so, yeah, they're able to customize it, I guess, on our side, and then we send that information. So maybe it's not customized in that sense, but it's enough for us in our use case.
Yeah, and with NFTs, the Cascadia Flag we're building on Codex, we're basically creating a smart contract factory which allows users and individuals to upload photos and metadata of a tree. So if you have a redwood in your front yard, you can take a picture of it, you can get the DBH, diameter, or breast height, and then height, as well as add on a whole bunch of other metadata, you know, if you're interested, like species and different things like that. And that goes into the smart contract, which then mints an NFT from all that data.
That sounds amazing. That's like very cutting edge, Alex. Congratulations on that.
Is that open source?
Right now it's not. So we have our chief blockchain developer, this guy Shubham, who built the blockchain and built the smart contract. But we're going to be launching here as soon as we can get it, you know, up and running. So. And at that point, we're going to open source it.
May I ask what kind of a flag do you have in the background?
Yes, of course, Marina. This is a Cascadia flag. So Cascadia is a bioregion in the Pacific Northwest, known for growing really big, really healthy, really beautiful trees. That's why there's a Doug fir on the flag. It encompasses areas in Northern California where the redwoods are from, all the way up through Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, and parts of like southeast coastal Alaska. Thanks for the question.
Cool. Well, we're coming up on time, so how about we end up with some closing thoughts on NFTs, and then I can leave the channel open if you guys want to chat afterwards, or we can just end at 1 o'clock too, because I know people have things to do. But this is really, really helpful. I learned so much, you guys. How about we start with Ray, like closing thoughts on NFTs for people that want to learn more or like find you or.
Sure. I mean, I'm available. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Ray Monner. Please ping me on any fun ideas you have. I love talking about NFTs and DeFi and stuff. Closing thoughts, just, the best advice is do your own research. And sometimes your own research you need to collaborate, right? So the only way to really navigate this space at this point, because as we found there's not like a definitive way to do good research, is do more research than spending. First do the research, then talk to people, then spend a fraction of what you were thinking of spending in the NFT space, because it's so early and it's very risky. And if Uniswap ever comes out with new socks, buy those as quickly as possible. That's my advice. No.
Alex, closing thoughts, and I don't know.
Thank you for letting me be a part of this, Arry. It was good to meet all of you, Jamiel, Ray, everyone else.
Cheers.
Closing thoughts. I mean, I think that NFTs are really promising. In the future, they're going to be a big part of everyday life, I think. And, whether it's gaming or climate change, I mean, they have use cases and strong use cases across the board. Everything from DeFi to actual like art trading. I will say if anyone likes the idea of NFTs, feel free to check out Cascadia Carbon. We're all over social media. Also Codex Carbon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Alex. And then Jamiel, closing thoughts. I noticed that Jamiel put in his information into the chat if you want to follow Jamiel there. But Jamiel, closing thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have anything really, but if you're going to spend $70 million on an NFT, please call Ray first, is my closing thought.
Good, Jamiel.
Well, we're on time. Thank you everyone so much for joining us to talk NFTs. If this was fun, let me know. Shoot me a note in Slack or on the meetup page, or email me, and we can do this again as many times as you want. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Arry.
you.
That was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in. This podcast is non-technical, fun, informative way to learn about money, Bitcoin, blockchains, crypto, and digital assets. This podcast is not financial advice, and your reactions are your total and complete responsibility, y'all. Now, thanks again, and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
Stuck inside.